Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to draft, cut and sew this bustier top with halter neck ruffles. Now, if you're a beginner, this tutorial is also for you because I'm going to be teaching everything from the scratch. So if you are coming across my channel for the first time, my name is Ifeoluwa and I am an online fashion tutor. Stick around because I have many other amazing tutorials that are coming for you and they are all beginners friendly. So please do well to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I really appreciate all those who have. Thank you very much, guys. And also like this video. Do not hesitate to drop your comments or your questions in the comment section. Now let's get into today's tutorial. So I'm going to start with the measurements that are needed for this top. I have the bust measurements, the waist, the hip, the bust points, the under bust, the front waistline, the back waistline. These two are very important if you want your clothes to have better fit. So you notice that it varies in a lot of people. You can have different figures for yours. Then I have my across back measurement and I have my armhole circumference. So I'm going to begin the drafting with the front pattern, and here I'm just going to put my chest line measurement. So my chest line measurement is my armhole divided by 2. So I have my armhole circumference as 16 inches divided by 2. I have 8 inches. I'm going to mark that. Then I'm going to measure out the bust points, then the under bust, and then my front waistline measurements. Now from my waistline measurement, I'm going to measure out 8 inches. That is like my hip depth, and that is just equal to the amount of amount of length I want for the top. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, exactly the same thing, and then I'm going to draw a straight line to connect the points together. So here I have my shoulder line. This is the chest line, the bust points, the under busts, the front waistline, and then this part you can call it the top length or the hip depth. Now this part here is going to be the center front, which is usually on fold for the front, and then this part is the side front. Now I'll go ahead to measure out my across back measurement, which is my shoulder to shoulder measurement. I have 15 inches for mine divided by 2, that is 7.5 inches. So I'll do that from the shoulder line down to the chest line, and then I'll draw out a straight line. Now from this shoulder line here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2 and I'll mark that point. Now from that point, I'm going to come in by 0.75, and then on the chest line, I'm going to input my bust measurement divided by 4. So I have my bust as 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. I'll mark that, and then I'm going to connect those 3 points I've created with my armhole curve. So this is going to be the armhole of the top. So here I'm just going to put in my neckline measurement, basic neckline measurement, which is not needed for this particular top, but we're just going to input that. So I used 3.5 inches here, and then 3 inches for the depth of the neckline, and then I connected from the shoulder slant. Now from the chest line down to the top length, I'm going to input the nipple to nipple measurement, that is the bust span. You just divide it by 2. You can use your bust measurement divided by 4 minus 1.5 and then divide by 2. So I have 8 inches for mine divided by 2, which is 4 inches for the nipple to nipple measurement. So I measured all the way from the chest line down to the top length. Now on the front waistline here, I'm going to come in by 0.5 inch, and then I'm going to go out towards the side front by 1.5 inches. So I'll do the same thing for the under bust, and then I'll draw a straight line. Now I'll use my curve to connect from the under bust to the bust points on both sides. Then I'll also connect with a straight line from the waistline down to the top lengths. Now here on the shoulder slant, I'm going to divide whatever I have there by 2. So I have 4 inches for mine divided by 2. I have 2 inches. So I'm going to connect that point into the bust point, as you can see me doing. So this part here is going to be cut out of the pattern later on. Now I'm going to measure out the neckline that I want for the top. So for this top, I used 7 inches for the neckline, and then around the armhole here, I used 6 inches. I came down by 6 inches. Then I connected with a slight curve. Now I'm going to take in a few inches here, and the reason why I'm doing that is to avoid gaping on the neckline area. So you want your neckline area to be fitted well into your body. So to avoid that, you are going to take a little bit of inches here. So I used 0.75 on both sides. So altogether I have 1.5 inches. So I'm going to connect that back into the bust points. Now I have my bust measurement here already divided by 4, but I'll have to replace whatever I have here. I'll put it back on the bust measurement because we're going to be cutting it out. So I have 1 inch. I measured that out and replaced it. Now on my waistline, my waist measurement divided by 4 is what I'm going to be putting here. So I have 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. And whatever I have here, I have 2 inches. I'm going to replace it back on the waistline. Now on the top length here, or the M line, or the hip depth, anyone you want to call it, I'm going to put my hip measurements divided by 4. So that is what I just imputed here. Then I'm going to connect all of those points together. Now looking at my own measurements, I have different measurements for my front waistline and the back waistline. So the difference between that is 2 inches. So the difference between my front and back waistline is 2 inches. So I'm going to take that 2 inches right here on the bust point. I'm going to measure the 2 inches there, and then I'm going to connect it back into that point that I have there of the bust. So this part here that I've taken are going to be eliminated from our pattern. Now it is time to cut out. Now I would have to close up this side dart here that I have, and to do that I'm going to cut this part here and stop a little bit before the bust point. Now I'm going to come to this line here too and cut out, stop a little bit before the bust point. And I'm going to use my masking tape to cover the dart that I have created there. Now you notice that these lines won't be equal anymore. So what we're just going to do is to connect back from the bust chest line down to the waistline, and then we have equal lines. Now since we are not going to be fixing any sleeves on this top, I'm just going to connect from this point here of my armhole down into the chest line. So you can see what I'm doing. You can just connect freehand like this, or you can use your cuff to connect the points together. Now for this part here too, if you fold these darts inside like this, you'll see that you would also have equal neckline here anymore. So before you cut it out, you just go ahead to draw out the neckline to make the line equal. So when cutting out, this line is what I'm going to cut out, and this one is no longer useful. So I'll go ahead to complete the cutting out of this pattern. Hey guys, if you are still watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do well to subscribe, and also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people. Also, do not hesitate to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Any question you have on this top, I'll be there to answer you guys. Thank you very much. So guys, after cutting out, this is what I have, and this is my front pattern. Now let's move on to the back pattern. For the back pattern, I'm going to start by bringing out my zip allowance, which is 1 inch. So I just marked out 1 inch like that all the way down, and then I connected with a straight line. So from the top here, I'm going to measure out my chest line measurement, which is the armhole divided by 2, just like I did for the front. And I'm going to measure out my back waistline measurement, which is different from the front waistline measurement. So from this waistline measurement, just like I did for the front, I'm also going to measure out my top length, or the hip depth. So I used 8 inches for the hip depth. So I'm going to do the same thing at the other side, and then I'll connect the points together. So I have the shoulder line, the chest line, the back waistline, and then the top length, or the hip depth, or the M line. So this part here is called the center back line. Now from the center back line here, I'm going to measure out my across back measurement divided by 2. That is the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2. I have 15 inches divided by 2, which is 7.5. Then I'm going to connect with a straight line from the shoulder line down to the chest line. Now from the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2 and mark that point. Then I'm going to come in by 0.5. On the chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 4. So you make sure you're taking it from the center back line, divided by 4, and then I'm going to connect those points together. Then here, I'm just going to fix in my neckline measurements, which I'm not going to need. But if you are making a full top that isn't off shoulder or a tube top, you will need this measurement. But I don't need this for this particular top. Now to further prevent bulge in your zip, what I usually do is to come in by 1 inch here on the waistline. So from this center back line here, I came in by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect that 1 inch into the chest line, just like you can see me doing here. Then after connecting into the chest line, I'm going to go ahead to also connect into the top length or the hemline. So this part here now is going to be the new zip allowance. So I already have my bust measurements here. Then I'm going to fix in my waist measurement divided by 4, starting from this new point here. So I have divided by 4. I'm going to put that. And then on the top length, I'm also going to put in my hip measurements. So this top does not have any darts at the back. So after doing that, I'm going to connect those points together. Then for the main neckline I'm going to use for this top, I used 6 inches, came down by 6 inches on the armhole here, just like I did for the front. And then this part too, I also used 6 inches because I want it to just be a straight line. I don't want it to have curve or anything. So I came in by 1 inch here. So this way you also prevent gaping at the back. Then from that 1 inch, I went with my curve into the chest line. So this is it for the back pattern of this top. Then I'll go ahead to cut out what I have. So this is it for the front and the back pattern, and as you can see, the sides are aligning together. That is because of the side dart that we've already taken to eliminate the difference between the front and the back waistline measurements. So you just make sure that you take the appropriate measurements for yourself or for whoever you are sewing this top for, so that you can have accurate measurements and the clothes can fit better. So guys, this is where I'm going to be stopping for now, and then in my next tutorial I'm going to show you how to cut and how to sew this top, how to perfectly pad your bustier in a way that you won't need to even wear a bra when wearing this top. So let me know in the comment section if you have any questions on the drafting of this top, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do not leave without subscribing. Also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people, and then I'm going to see you in my next tutorial. Thanks for watching guys. Bye.